Across the country, homelessness has been getting worse. Through the pandemic, encampments have been popping up in city parks and alleyways, with more than 200,000 people experiencing homelessness in a given year. That's what we're seeing here in Thunder Bay, the de facto hub of northwestern Ontario. Small encampments have been forming all summer as people are stuck without a house.
We lost 7 people who are all waiting to be housed, and that's just an unacceptable amount of loss.
But those places, people's homes, are facing high levels of violence and death.
We had 3 attacks in one weekend on 3 different sites.
But the work of one group seems to be making a difference. By providing both housing and support, some people have found a way out of homelessness.
Like, it's home, it's nice, it's warm, it's safe.
So could this model of help in Thunder Bay be part of the solution to homelessness? This was home for you last year.
Oh yeah, it was. This is the only place we had coverage too, because when it rained,
Right.
yeah, so it kept us all dry, but we used to move around a lot, even slept under these Walmart things just to keep dry.
Shannon Munius and James Carter were living here last year, the latest stop in a long period of homelessness. They have a lot of memories here, many of them fond. At one point, there were as many as 20 people living here.
It's like that. It's like your street family, right? That's what we call family. I mean, you got your own family, like some home and stuff, but you get to meet other people and you still have feelings for everybody. Like, we're all human.
But this encampment was also the site of a horrific attack. One night, a truck drove through the gas bar and right over a tent. So where was the tent?
It was over here. It was pitched right here. We had 2 tents here at one time.
Right.
And everybody would just cuddle in there.
Yeah.
And that one guy that was left sleeping, they thought he got run over. I mean, it scared the hell out of us. At the same time, it didn't even feel safe after that.
Thankfully, no one was hurt that day, but the violence is escalating, from objects being thrown to someone slashing open a tent with a knife.
Our campers will tell you those random acts of violence really stink, but they heal from that. It's actually the verbal abuse that they've had to take that's harder to live with. You know, the you're not welcome, you're not wanted. So this is our grieving tree.
At Elevate's Community Warming Center, people try to deal with all of that violence, all of that death together.
This has been a really hard year. When we talk about the encampments, we lost 7 people from our community. So that's just people connected to our service. We lost 7 people who are all waiting to be housed. And that's just an unacceptable amount of loss.
Unable to sit on the sidelines, Holly has spent decades doing everything she can to connect people with care, food, and a home.
Come on in. This is one of our units. It's home to a lot of people who were really in a hard place.
This year, Holly and her team have been working hard to stop those deaths, to get people into housing.
For most people, their room is what really matters to them because it's a place where they can securely store their belongings. It's for lots of them, it's the first time they've actually had a door and a lock between them and the outside world. And so it's that safety, it's that security, and it's that sense of home when you haven't had a home for a really long time.
So how many people are able to stay in here?
So we have, within each of the cluster units, we have 5 bedrooms. And so we can house up to 10 people in any unit.
One of the things that really sets this solution apart from others, there are no prerequisites for getting into the housing. You don't need to be sober or have a job. This approach of helping people is called Housing First. It's an internationally recognized approach to solving homelessness, and I wanted to find out how it's being implemented across the country.
So Housing First is exactly what it says. It's getting people into housing, people who are homeless, as quickly as possible with no preconditions.
Tim Aubry is leading a new group trying to create more Housing First programs across Canada. So is it enough to just give someone a house then?
No, it's clearly not enough. And the research on Housing First shows it's housing first, but it's not only housing. It has to come with support.
So if the research is there that says Housing First with the supports that works to kind of end like chronic homelessness, why don't we see more projects underway?
Well, you know, we have a system of managing homelessness, you know, that involves shelters and lots of services attached to shelters. And it just seems we're kind of stuck in continuing to invest in that system.
What he's talking about is that people get stuck in the emergency shelter system, dependent on it to get access to things like food and healthcare, and there's not enough money or units to get people into their own houses.
It's a lot of work and it is some risk to do it, but the alternative is waiting for people to die. 7 of them died waiting for housing. That's an unacceptable loss by anybody's standards.
Housing First doesn't automatically save people's lives. 2 people have died from drug overdoses in these very units. But Holly knows this work is worth it. She knows it can end homelessness.
Well, this is our home.
Okay.
It's about 8 months now since we've been here, so like it's home, it's nice, it's warm, it's safe. Don't have anybody bothering us, even though it's a rental, so it's cozy.
Shannon and James had spent years living on the streets. Now, with their newly adopted cat, Paws, the family is living independently, and all it took was a few months of support and a roof over their heads.
Well, like, we were homeless, we got taken in by people that cared and showed us that there's a solution.
Now, they're working at Elevate Center, welcoming people in from the cold and sharing their story for others. And so because you guys have that lived experience, does it feel like sometimes you're giving hope by sharing your story to other people you work with?
Yeah, because they entirely look at you differently. They see you're doing something good for yourself and they want to know how they can become the way maybe you are, how you've done things, right?
They say people who are homeless have to put in the work themselves, but it's not that simple. They also need that opportunity, the same kind that Shannon and James had.